Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and I hope all of you are having a great day. As we get things kicked off here, we have a guest. Well, potentially we have a guest. May need to give them a call in just a moment, but because unable to get it before the show and just ahead of time, I apologize for that. But hopefully we get on the program a company called Tophatter, and they run a site that you can visit, and they have lots and lots and lots of different auctions. And I'm sure you've seen other sites like this, and I've personally I know I've seen a number of advertised websites on television that have kind of the same theory, but we're going to figure out, directly from the COO of the company, just why they exist and, if you can actually get some of those amazing deals that they're talking about. So before we do that, a couple things to mention, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find anything and everything having to do with today's show. And that can be everything from show notes, link to our guest website, our articles, videos, anything and everything having to do with today's show. You can find it at computeramerica.com. Also, while you're there, be sure to check out the contest, which we run in conjunction with Logitech. That's right. And if you want to enter that, if you want to maybe win a great prize, well, go ahead, enter. It's just that easy to do. And hey, we could be calling your name live on the air here this Friday. And then the last thing is, of course, the video portion of the show, where you can watch Computer America, not just listen to it. And again, we keep everything radio friendly, but it's just another way to follow along with the story, see our guest website, yada, 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 that kind of thing. So once again, I apologize for doing this on the air, but we're going to go ahead and try and see if we can get this to work. Actually, you know what? Instead, I'm just going to do computer technology news. And I know I just gave them a very nice introduction. I did very well myself. Thank you. But we're probably going to have to reschedule and get them on another time because, it's just unmanageable here to, to do while we do the show. So with that being said, I think instead, again, we'll get Tophatter on the program another time, and in the meantime, we will do computer and technology news because, actually, we have a number of stories that I definitely wanted to get to. So, with that being said, we are, in fact, going to do computer and technology news brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. So, here we go. So, our first story, and I really wanted to do this one first because, I'm all for, things having not a happy ending, but at least a happy, or not a happy beginning, not a happy ending, a happy middle, or, probably at least turning a new leaf. And I'm talking, of course, about Twitter. Now, Twitter, they've been the subject of much teasing on this show and on other programs, and, just in the business world in general, because where Facebook seems to be able to print money being a social media site, Twitter has long been regarded as a site that everyone uses, but no one pays for. And, you can only run on venture capital money for so long. You can only run on angel investments for so long until finally you're just, spinning your wheels. And it's been a long time that Twitter has been spinning its wheels. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and go to this article from Reuters. And it's talking about Twitter. Twitter Inc. said on Thursday it may become profitable for the first time next quarter after slashing expenses over the past year and ramping up deals to sell its data to other companies, which could help to break its reliance on advertising for revenue. And, the initial thought is, of course, well, advertisers pay the bills, just like they do here on Computer America. And getting off of the idea that advertisers pay its bills, instead they sell its data, it's moving into the territory of every other, social media site. So just on that news alone, just on Twitter saying, hey, we finally have a way to actually make money and not just spend ungodly amounts of money, shares of Twitter soared more than 16% in afternoon trading. And the company also said that user growth resumed in the third quarter after stalling in the prior 3 months. It's good. You have to add people. That's definitely, especially if they're going to be relying on selling user data, you definitely need more and more users to join your platform. Now, Twitter has never had a profitable quarter based on generally accepted accounting principles, but said it will likely be GAAP profitable, again, the principles, in the fourth quarter if it hits the high end of its estimates. So, still a long shot, but hey, that's closer than they've been before. So, Reuters continues to say that the social media company has struggled to convert its appeal among celebrities and public figures, such as obviously the sitting U.S. president, to attract users and advertisers amid fierce competition from Facebook and Snapchat. It has also worked in recent months to sign live streaming deals and make other changes to improve user experience. Revenue from data licensing and other sources in the third quarter was about $87 million. Wow. If you ever wonder how much user data is worth, and you can take Twitter as an example, where I think they have like 500 million or something like that users. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers, but yeah, almost $90 million gained just from user data. Now, obviously, that helped cushion an 8% decrease in advertising revenue. And I'm sure the drop in advertising revenue has everything to do with the fact that Twitter's been in the news as a form of social media manipulation with the elections. It's not a matter of did it happen? It happened, but to what extent? So they said that Twitter had, and by the way, Twitter said it signed a significant number of enterprise deals in the third quarter, which would help stabilize its revenue flow. And the company did not name the companies it had inked deals with. So they said that with a revenue of about $590 million, where it's down a little bit, but they did say obviously that they decreased expenses. So even if your profit doesn't go up, your expenses, you streamline it, blah blah blah, you're pretty good. So with that said, the company reported 330 million monthly active users by the end of September 30th in the previous quarter. So 330 million active users, I said 500 million, 330 million users, up 4 million from the previous quarter. Now, here's the big question in my mind, and I am glad that Twitter is finding ways to monetize themselves. I mean, if they can find ways to do that, then they can put more money and more emphasis on, of course, improving the screening process of Twitter. And by that, I mean, it's no secret that, even by Twitter's own estimate, about 20% of its user base, 20%, 1 in 5, is a fake user, is a bot that is controlled and can be directed wherever, and hopefully influence another, someone else and policy. So, but numbers aside, what's a bot, what isn't? They said that analysts, they expected about 330 million active users worldwide and about 70 million in the United States. And according to financial data analytics, so they hit estimates almost on the nose. So let's see. Let's go ahead and skip through because this is getting tedious. Why don't we end up with this saying that Chief Operating Officer Anthony Noto told analysts that Twitter was still in the early stages of exploring a product around its TweetDeck interface, saying that the company has stepped up efforts to keep people hooked through live streaming deals, including for concerts, professional golf, and news programs. I mean, Twitter is obviously trying to break out beyond its 140 character limit. It's trying to obviously, kind of make it happen. So it's something that they're obviously working on and trying their best to, develop around. So with that said, Twitter last month began testing tweets as long as 280 characters, double the existing cap, and has announced plans to toughen its rules on harassment. And there you have it. So Twitter potentially turning a profit, and we'll definitely see what happens. All right, so actually, with that being said, we're going to try to get our guest for the first hour. And again, everyone, I apologize for making a phone call here live on the air, but we're going to do our best. So let's go ahead and make this call. So here we go, everyone. Cross your fingers. Hope this works. There's the first ring. All right, let's see how this works. Once again, hello. Hi, is this Mr. Andrew Blachman? Hi. Yeah. Perfect. So I'm happy to get you, Ben from Computer America. Unfortunately, it's very, very echoey. The call quality's not too good. Is there a way you could pick up a handset or something? It is. I have a number. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it on the air, but I have a number. I have another number here. I hope it's your cell phone. Could I call that number? All right. Thanks. All right. So, everyone, and again, I apologize. I definitely want to get our guest on with us because this is going to hopefully be, All right. So that's didn't exactly work. So let's try one more time. The joy of live radio. I swear to you. So, with that being said, let's see. We got this, folks. I trust. Hello, Andrew. Oh, all right. Yep, that's definitely a bit better. And we're just going to go ahead and do the interview like this, if you don't mind. So, with that being said, I apologize for getting you a bit late, but hopefully you're all set up. All right, no problem. So, all right, everyone, welcome onto the program, Mr. Andrew Blachman. He is the COO of Tophatter. And yeah, that's right. So this is a site that, from what I can gather already, it's a place, I've seen other sites kind of similar, but, honestly, it's always interesting to find new ways to shop for deals or kind of get good prices on a lot of products that you use every single day. So I think a good place to start, Andrew, would be give us an overview. What is Tophatter? And give us a little bit of your background. How did you get started in all this?
I'm surprised if you've seen a lot of experiences like us because we think we're a bit unique. But what we are is a new way to shop on your phone. So essentially what we do is we run live auctions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where shoppers can discover and purchase products directly from sellers around the world. What makes us unique is that we're entirely mobile, and it's entirely about this very fast, entertaining experience. Our auctions take about 60 to 90 seconds on average, and we sell about 100,000 items a day. My background is I actually have been an entrepreneur for a while. I've been working with this business for now 6 years. But before that, I was in the ticketing space and spent a lot of time in technology and e-commerce.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously this experience really kind of fit like a glove. And I kind of want to clarify that when I said I've seen other services such as this, I mean, I've seen a bit of television, and they have these
Yep.
sites that the idea is that you have a bidding site, an auction site, and every time someone bids, every time someone auctions or bids on an auction, the timer resets, and it leads to this kind of domino effect. But you say that you're a bit different, so let's get into kind of how Tophatter works and how you differentiate yourself, from those other sites.
Sure. So we run live auctions, and the events that you see are real events where people are bidding on products. There's no cost to bid. If you win the product, then you can choose to pay for it. What we are is essentially a fun discovery experience on mobile. So in other words, if you have some time to spare in your day, you're on your phone, you want to see cool products, you come into our app. We don't expect people to search and know exactly what they want. You come into our app, we'll show you deals. The more you use the app, the more the deals are going to be tailored to you and to what you'd be interested in. And essentially, we're trying to create that discovery experience. One way to think about it is what we're trying to do is sort of be the mall of the future. So the same way people used to go to the shopping mall to discover new products and have a good time. Malls are closing, retail stores are closing. We're trying to be that experience on mobile where you pop into an app or an event and you see products, that you have a good time, and you hopefully find things that are tailored for you and that you're excited to buy.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the idea of going into a mall, it's certainly not not as prevalent as it once was. And of course, I think a lot of in like a lot of ways that people find new products is they search for something on Walmart, Amazon, wherever you do your online shopping, and then they see other people shop for or related items. You can kind of get into a rut, and you don't see a lot of these products. And obviously, for anyone out there watching the video portion of the show, we have your website up, and I'll admit, it's kind of fun seeing seeing these deals, kind of going once, going twice, and bobbing back and forth. Why don't you kind of describe the
So just to,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree. I mean, I think that the internet has made shopping generally a lot more efficient. If you know what you want, you can get it quickly, you can get it cheaply, you can get it delivered to you, next day or same day. It's created a pretty efficient experience. The problem is it's also taken a lot of the joy out of shopping. And if you don't know what you want, it can be intimidating to try to figure that out. And Amazon and Walmart and others are not really geared for helping consumers find things that they didn't necessarily know already that they wanted to buy. And that's the experience that we're focused on, which is, we think, actually the bigger slice of commerce, which is products that you don't yet know that you're interested in, but then you see it being used, and you get excited about it, and you want to purchase it either for yourself or as a gift.
So, and I have to ask this because I'm sitting here, I'm watching these products, everything from phone cases to watches to jewelry to collectibles, just everyday products. Obviously, it's you say that you don't have to know what you want before you go here. Good, because you have a lot of different products, and the breadth of them is actually quite kind of striking. Who's selling these things? Because they're it's obviously, it's not just a coin store, it's not just a jewelry store. Where are you getting these products that people can bid on?
Yeah, good question. So we've got about 5,000 sellers on the platform today, about 500 of which are really sort of large, significant sellers. And these aren't individuals that are doing this as a hobby like you might find on eBay or other places. These are professionals that are selling in different channels. So they might sell the same product on Amazon or other platforms. They're selling through us as well, and they're selling through us primarily because we provide a great discovery engine for them so they can move products pretty quickly. So it's a professional seller platform on the back end. And we have a team that vets sellers and that works with sellers to onboard them onto the platform. One of the things that you may have noticed, you see a lot of products at any given time, but we actually have that. It's just really the tip of the iceberg. We have way more products that we don't feature than we do feature. We actually constrain the auctions every day so that there's only a certain amount of product up for sale, and that lets us do two things. One, it lets us make the site fun and competitive, but it also lets us pick and choose among the sellers and items so that we're running the best stuff that gets the best reviews and that ships quickest, etc.
So yeah, so it's not just flooded with with spammers and people who maybe you go there and every day you see the same T-shirts that are being sold over and over and over again. So the front page is actually curated, and obviously
it's curated, but it's
go ahead.
it's curated, but it's interestingly it's not curated by a human being. It's curated by our algorithms, which are trying to always determine the best items to put in front of the buyers at that time.
Right. So, and your website, anyone can go there. We have a link to it over at Computer America, tophatter.com. But you mentioned that this is, maybe optimized for mobile. How would you recommend people kind of use Tophatter? What platform do you think is best?
Yeah, so we've absolutely built this with a mobile experience in mind, first and foremost. We have a website, as you mentioned, but about 90% of our usage happens either through our mobile apps or through the mobile web version of our platform. So it's easy to download the apps for your Android or iOS. And I think even if you're on the web, we have an easy way to link and download the app. The app is the best experience by far, but if you want to transact on the web, it certainly works well as well. We actually have a lot of users that use both, where they'll maybe set reminders on certain items on the web, and then when they're out and about on their phone, they'll get a push reminder that item is available for auction, and they'll pop in and they'll purchase it. So definitely recommend the mobile experience first, but you can check it out on the web too.
Yeah, it's and like I said, there's a lot of different products. I guess that of course kind of leads me to the next question, which is these items that are being sold. I mean, we can kind of see it here in real time. They are obviously selling for 90% off in a lot of cases. 99% off if you get lucky. There's not obviously a lot of room for profit. I'm sure the sellers definitely are able to, due to mass, selling massive amounts of, product can make their money. How do you make your money? Because again, when you start selling things for 99, 96, 90% off, there's not a lot of room for, your cut in there.
Yeah, so we're a marketplace. So like most marketplaces, we take a cut of the transaction. So for a successful sale, we take our cut, and the seller gets the net sale from that transaction. On average, I can't share a lot about our prices, but on average, we end up somewhere in the sort of $10 to $20 price point for most items. Some things are above, some things are below. But at that price point, it's usually a significant deal for the consumer off of retail, and it's also a price that the seller is happy to sell at. So it's about sort of finding that sweet spot. Again, for the seller, the value proposition is that we usually move products for them pretty quickly. I mean, you can see how fast the auctions go, and we have, hundreds and then now thousands of auctions every day. So we move products for the sellers pretty quickly. So they're happy to take a little bit less money for these items. And for buyers, we do whatever we can to make sure buyers are getting good deals as well. And the reason for that is probably pretty obvious, that if buyers don't get a good deal, they're unlikely to come back or recommend it to a friend. And so our incentives are to keep both sides of the marketplace happy. And again, our take rate comes out of the middle, and the more volume we do, the more money we make.
Yeah, and obviously, you definitely want to make your money in there, but I mean, this seems like a really, really fun way. Does it cost any money to, or I'm sorry, like other than buying the product that you bid on, and you obviously, you win the bid, that's the first part. And then, it says here that sometimes you have to add shipping, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, where does where does the user kind of spend money? Is it only if you win? Is it per bid? Where are, kind of the payments?
No, it's absolutely only if you win. I mean, there have been sites before that sort of charge to bid, and then some people end up winning and getting good deals, but most people end up losing. We don't think that's sustainable, frankly. Whether we like it or not, it just isn't sustainable. So our model is very, very normal sort of e-commerce platform where you purchase things and you only pay if you're actually purchasing that thing to get it shipped to you, and you have a choice at any point in the process. In fact, you can even win an auction and then choose not to pay and cancel the order. If you do that too much, we sort of remind you that this is a real auction. You're taking that product from someone else that might want it, but in general, it's a really consumer-friendly experience where if you decide you want to bid and pay for something, you can, and if you don't want to, you can look for other things or leave. There's no cost to participate.
Right. And I mean, obviously we have a couple questions here about, just how you've grown, in the recent past. It says that you're doing about $1 million a day, in transactions. That's a huge accomplishment. And obviously, my question is, did you start on mobile, and what do you think kind of led to, moving that much product? Because this looks very, very clean, looks very organized, looks very automated. So there's not a lot of, kind of stopping and moving things. Tell us about your growth.
Yeah.
I mean, how's it been?
Yeah, so one thing I'd say is we've been at this for a while. So we've been building this business for 6 years now, and it takes a while to get to scale. And so what I mean by that is, one of the ways to think about this is, if you went on our site 3-4 years ago, you would see just a fraction of the items that you see today, because we had a smaller audience and it supported a smaller amount of merchandise. And what that means is that every user that came in would have less to choose from by virtue of the fact that we were running fewer items and we could support fewer items. So we've seen that as the business has gotten bigger, we've actually not just gotten bigger, but actually gotten better for consumers as well. So the proposition is more enticing, and that's helped us actually accelerate growth as we've gotten bigger. So we're essentially, as you mentioned, we're doing about just over $1 million a day of sales today. We're more than doubling every year. We expect next year to continue. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that there was like a secret to it that we unlocked, but the reality is it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of execution to get to scale. And now that we're at scale, things get a little bit more compelling.
Right. And so you're at scale, but my next question is, where are you kind of focused in terms of growth? Because, again, lots of different products, lots of different categories. Is it the user base that needs to grow, or do you think that if you grow your, the products that you offer, then the users just come with that? Where are you focused in terms of growth?
Yeah, it's on both sides. It's the users, it's on the consumer side, it's also on the supply side. I'd say in general, I think the user growth fuels a lot of the supply growth. But again, as I mentioned, as we have more items, it becomes more attractive to buyers as well. So it's a little bit of a cycle, a positive reinforcement cycle where it makes things easier. I think, broadly speaking, though, like in the last year, I think we've had about 1.5 million to 2 million active purchasers. And so that may sound like a lot, but that's really just scratching the surface of the consumer audience that's out there. I mean, what we do is we appeal to, I think, a broad spectrum of consumers. It's sort of mass market. It's not a niche product that might appeal to like the 1% that are interested in, really premium products. We sell all kinds of stuff, including like unbranded deals for less than $10 or even less than $5. So there's really something for everyone there. And we think that we're going after this mass market. We're at the very early stages of it, and more spend is shifting from traditional retail stores, bricks and mortar, Walmart, whatever it might be, to online and specifically to mobile. So for us, I think it's really, really early days in terms of growth on the consumer side.
Right. And obviously, if people want to check this out, is there an app that they can download, and is that iOS or Android?
It's both. You can go to tophatter.com, TOPHATTER, or just search for us in the app stores and download it and check it out. I think you'll have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we have links to that in the show notes. If you're busy, if your hands are tied, we got you covered. And Andrew, I apologize for the technical difficulty in the beginning, but really glad to have you on. Thanks for coming on. And yeah, Tophatter seems like a really good idea.
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
All right, have a good one. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. So there he goes, Andrew Blachman. He is the COO of Tophatter. And if you want to find out more, again, computeramerica.com. Now, in the meantime, well, actually for the rest of the show, computer technology news, we're going to get back to it. And, of course, right after this. So everyone, stay tuned. Computer America, right after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour. If you're just joining us, we were able to squeeze in, the last 20 minutes or so of the show. We did an interview with Tophatter, and they're an auction site that is, well, primarily mobile focused, and it lets you get a lot of deals on a lot of product. And hey, you even have fun doing it. So check it out if you'd like. Again, primarily on mobile devices, but they also are available at tophatter.com. So in the meantime, back to computer and technology news. And this is a segment where we dedicate everything to news, any noteworthy news, policy, products, anything and everything that is related to technology. Hey, we got you covered. So that being said, why don't we go ahead and switch gears again to this article. And this is from New Scientist. It's a publication that we don't use a lot, but sometimes they come out with articles that are indeed relevant to technology. And one of them is something that I've probably been accused of more than once, and I'm sure a number of people out there have as well, or at least known someone who maybe has been self-diagnosed, or you think it's this, but new light. And this coming to us from New Scientist again, and we have gaming addiction. So obviously an addiction to video games probably isn't a real condition, study suggests. And this is by Inga Vesper, saying that there may be no such thing as internet gaming addiction, where people play excessively not because they are hooked on gaming itself, but because they feel unhappy about other areas of their life. And that's according to a study that followed thousands of online gamers over 6 months. Not the longest term, but it's a pretty decent sized study. So, internet gaming disorder is referenced in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as a condition of further study, meaning that the American Psychiatric Association thinks it warrants further research as a potential psychiatric condition. So it's not official, and people think it may be, but at the moment, not so much. So he said that people suspected of suffering from gaming disorder must fulfill 5 or more criteria from a list of 9 that include lying about time spent gaming, jeopardizing jobs, career, or education because of participating in gaming, okay, and using gaming to relieve anxiety. Although, to relieve anxiety, I know video games are made for relieving stress. Anxiety, though, maybe anxiety caused by not playing games. I don't know. Anyways, they said that they must also feel distress over their gaming habits for a yet-to-be-defined period of time. So if you feel upset that you're playing games and yet you continue to play games, there you have it. So to investigate the potential prevalence of the disorder based on these criteria, they said that Netta Weinstein at Cardiff University and her colleagues used a nationally represented sample informed by U.S. Census data to identify 2,316 people over the age of 18 who play games online. 2,000, that's, again, not a bad sample size. So, They said that they filled out a questionnaire covering aspects of their health, physical activity, and lifestyle. And at the start of the study, only 9 participants met 5 or only 9 participants met 5 or more of the criteria and experienced distress as a result of their gaming. However, none still met the criteria 6 months later and therefore weren't diagnosed with the addiction. So out of 2,316 people, 5 out of them, 5, met the criteria, and 6 months later, even those 5 had probably dropped one of the symptoms, and obviously, were no longer qualified to be addicted to video games. So they said that we didn't see a large number of people with clinical problems. The study results suggest that it's not clear how many resources should go to gaming addiction compared to other things like drugs. And drug addiction, lots of studying, lots of diagnosis, and, obviously a lot more research going into that. And it seems like rightfully so. So they said that further analysis by the team showed that people who displayed some of the proposed symptoms of gaming addiction had lower needs fulfillment, meaning that they were unhappy with other areas of their life, such as relationship or career. So this is something that video games do very, very well, and everyone knows it. Video games are a form of escapism, just like movies, just like anything else. It takes you away from your problems and sets you in another person's shoes, be it a character from Destiny 2, World of Warcraft, maybe Counter-Strike or League of Legends. You forget your problems even for a little bit, and then you get back to it. So they said that treatment for game addiction includes scrutinizing life outside gaming, a clinical psychologist who specialized in internet addiction, saying addicted players need to examine the emotional motives that prompt them to play a game excessively and look for alternative ways to satisfy those needs. So, anyways, they said that they need clinical samples of people who are being treated for addiction in centers. So they need to compare, other forms of addiction to gaming addiction, but right now it's kind of hard to identify people with gaming addiction because, quite frankly, not a lot of people seem to fit that mold. So, anyways, there you have it, gaming addiction. I'm sure, again, either you've been, it's been insinuated that you have it or you know someone who has it, but either way, there you go. All right, gaming addiction, not really a thing. Interesting. All right, now, why don't we pick a story that's... All right, why don't we do this one? And this coming to us from Ars Technica. Again, it's going to get a little, well, not really a little heady, but it's just showing off some of the things that the current FCC seems to be doing to eliminate diversity in, well, this time in media. And of course, we're a radio show, so this has affected us at one time or another, but it's a rule that happened decades ago and is now being taken away. Here we have it. This saying that Ajit Pai submits plan to allow more media consolidation. And I didn't even know this rule was a thing, but you can clearly see that, the effects mattered. There's a reason that it was there. So this coming to us again from Ars Technica, John Brodkin, and saying that the Federal Communications Commission will vote next month on ending a rule to prevent joint ownership of newspaper and TV or radio stations in the same geographical markets. So they said that the change is part of a larger overhaul of media ownership rules announced yesterday by the FCC, and saying that the FCC says its newspaper broadcasting stations cross-ownership rule prohibits common ownership of a daily newspaper and a full-powered broadcast station, so AM, FM, or TV. And if the station's service contour encompasses the newspaper's city of publication. So essentially what it says there is that a newspaper cannot own a radio station or a television station, and a television or radio station cannot own a newspaper. this is something that you can kind of see that, be it CNN, be it Fox, be it MSNBC, what have you, they very clearly, and because they're nationwide, they're nationally syndicated, and they're available in pretty much all markets. Major television news organizations don't own newspapers, and vice versa. Newspapers in really anywhere don't have complete or partial ownership of television stations. They've been completely separate entities, and they kind of compete for the same listenership, or listener / readership, but that just means that it kind of helped competition, because if someone was doing overwhelmingly well in the TV market, be it Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC, then it kind of kept them from expanding that lead and taking over newspapers nationwide, or taking over radio stations nationwide, and just having one perspective, one point of view spread out across all forms of media. So that rule supposedly is being eliminated. And they said that Pi also proposes eliminating a local radio TV cross-ownership rule that prohibits one entity from owning more than 2 television stations and 1 radio station in the same market unless that market meets a certain size criteria. So even if it's a small market, we could see media consolidation between radio, television, and newspaper across all 3 from a single provider. So the FCC will vote on the proposal in November, and it will likely pass because Pi leads a 3-2 Republican majority. Right? Only takes 3 people out of a 5-person committee, and hey, guess what? They kind of get to choose who's on the committee as well. So yeah, there's a lot of online discussion happening over this current FCC. There's a lot of petitions being signed about this current FCC. There's a lot of awareness being raised about the FCC. But at the end of the day, public opinion, even when it's, millions of comments being sent to the FCC, and obviously you think 5 people are going to read that. Not at all. But even with millions of people watching them, it really doesn't matter. It's up to 5 different people that that really no one elected. So this is probably going to go through, unfortunately, one way or the other. Now, they said that the changes benefit Sinclair and other large broadcasters, where obviously if you were, like I've been saying, if you are a newspaper organization, or if you are if you are a television news station, if you are a large publication of print media, well, guess what? This gift allows you to finally spread out beyond what you've done and grow your audience. And it's not always, kind of the best thing. But anyways, industry lobbyists cheer the FCC move. And yeah, I think we're pretty much going to end it there. So we'll see what happens when this finally goes through. Personally, I can't say if it's a good or bad thing. Again, being a radio station, it never really occurred to me why our syndicators never owned anything more than radio stations, but now it becomes clear, and now you're going to start seeing, that eliminated. So anyways, I think the impacts of that are going to be far-reaching here for the next couple of years at least. So, all right, in the meantime, why don't we move on to our next story? And we don't talk much about products lately, and AMD has been doing a lot of great stuff with their line of products. So this next story, coming to us from Gadget, Mr. DaVinci Hardware. I always like that DaVinci Hardware is doing hardware for Engadget. But anyways, AMD, you know them. They have, they've stuffed a Radeon Vega graphics into Ryzen mobile chips. Very impressive. So it wants to bring desktop class speed and graphics into ultra thin notebooks. So they say mobile, but that doesn't mean your phone. Instead, it means obviously ultrabooks. Very, very thin and sleek. there we go, products to you. And here we go, saying that it's been a revival year for AMD, and its Ryzen chips thrusted back into the desktop arena, so much so that it practically forced Intel to drastically ramp up the capabilities of its upcoming 8th generation Core CPUs. And its RX Vega video cards, AMD finally had a way to compete against NVIDIA's latest batch of GPUs. That's right. No other way to put it. Ryzen, or at least AMD, really stepped up their game, especially with the Ryzen chipset. And now the company is setting its sights on laptops with its upcoming Ryzen mobile chips. And as you might expect, they'll feature an integrated Vega graphics. And the goal, they say, is to power ultra-thin laptops that you can still play a few rounds of Overwatch. So ultra-thins, there's always been this trade-off with ultra-thins, where just because of the form factor, the heat, the power consumption, the batteries, it's never really been feasible to put higher graphics cards and processors into ultrabooks. The battery just wasn't thick enough to power them for very long. The heat was just too much, and it would burn people or be very, very uncomfortable to use. But AMD thinks that they have the silver bullet. And now, that's right, and now, saying that although AMD is no stranger to laptops, it's never been a market where the company truly shined. And they said that, but with Ryzen Mobile, AMD is looking to leap far beyond the competition, and the company claims it delivers desktop-class CPU performance, and its integrated Vega graphics are about as powerful as NVIDIA's GTX 950M dedicated GPU. So integrated, for those of you who don't know, just means that it's something built directly into the motherboard. It's not a separate chip, and the fact that you can, I'm sorry, no, not the motherboard, the CPU. They're combining the CPU and the GPU, which means that AMD is able to save space, and if they're able to get these performances, think about it as not having to put a graphics card in it, making these ultrabooks that much thinner and that much more energy efficient. And they have a nifty little bar graph here showing, just the power of what AMD Ryzen can do. So AMD Ryzen 7 7200U with a 5 2500U and, the last generation of AMD. And they even throw in a Core i7 8550U, which is Intel's top of the line. And, moderate gains with 20% here, 30% there. But all in all, seems like they're really doing something very, very impressive. So AMD also announced a few intriguing stats, saying that the new chip pack is about 200% more CPU. Can pack in 200% more CPU speed and 128% more graphics performance than the previous generation. So just 100% would be just doubled, and they've done a little bit more than that. Pretty darn impressive. And that it reached a surprisingly high Cinebench mark, and blah, blah, blah. Essentially, they're doing well. So I think we're going to stop there. This article goes on for quite a bit. But AMD coming out swinging with their mobile chipset. And we could see more and more ultrabook and ultra thin AMD powered stuff, because they're right. In up until this year or last year, it's been Intel or nothing. AMD's finally competing in a market where Devendra Hardawar said they weren't really competitive, but now they are. All right. So with that being said, we have time for just one, maybe two more. All right. Walmart. This is interesting. So the idea of automation in grocery stores, that is a tale that I think as long as automation has been around, it's something that people have been saying it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, here we are. We're seeing the first inklings of it. And it's not exactly going to be replacing human workers, but instead being a tool to help make them more efficient. So this coming to us from Gadget, Mr. John Fingus, and saying that Walmart tests shelf scanning robots in 50 plus stores, saying that they're meant to complement human workers, not replace them. And they have a picture of what it looks like here. For those of you listening, it looks like about 3 feet tall. Think of a trash can, and it has an arm that kind of looks like a scanner for a printer, like, inside the printer bed. But instead, it's, obviously about 5 feet tall, the size of a regular grocery store shelf, and it has a bright, bright light that it can use to take images and, scan shelves. Not too much about it. So, Engadget says that you may have seen stores deploy shelf scanning robots before, but they're about to get one of their largest real-world tests to date, where Walmart is expanding a shelf-scanning robot trial to 50 additional stores in its home state of Arkansas. And machines from Bossa Nova Robotics will roam the aisles to check for stock levels, pricing, and misplaced items, saving human staffers the hassle of having to check everything themselves. And that there will be technicians on site just in case, but the bots are fully autonomous. Thanks in part to 3D imaging, they can dodge around obstacles and make notes to return later if their path is completely blocked. So, yeah, these things are going to cruise around Walmarts and essentially just check the shelves and see if they're out of a certain item. And they said that Walmart stresses that the bots are there to supplement humans, not replace them. Though, obviously you have to think about this, they said to eliminate drudgery and the expenses that go with it, and that this helps workers get the task of fulfilling empty shelves, and that's a job that the company doesn't see ending anytime soon, given the difficulty that robots still have while grabbing objects. Honestly, if they had engineers working on this, I feel like you could design packaging that would be more suitable for robot gripping, but for now, it doesn't hurt to pay someone a little bit under minimum wage to do that for you. So store associates will always be better at that, and they said that the chief of Bossa Nova rival Simbe Robotics added that the shelf checks can cost a major retailer hundreds of millions of dollars per year. However, however expensive the robot may be, they could pay for themselves very, very quickly. And here's the point, is that, we're seeing automation in grocery stores only grow, but where they said that these won't be replacing human workers, these are instead going to be augmenting their ability, there's no doubt about it, where, sure, you're not replacing stalkers, that's still a job, but where you may have needed, let's say, a dozen in a Walmart, or however many you need in a Walmart, where you maybe need a dozen and you need people to kind of walk around, look for empty shelves, take notes, things like that. And it took a dozen to effectively do that across the entire store at any given time. Well, you have these bots and they go out every hour, scan the entire store, and instead you get a printout saying that we need a person to restock XYZ and it's an aisle ABC, blah, blah, blah. You turn that department into a much more efficient process. You don't need a dozen people. You don't need a dozen people to do what now takes you, 3 people to do, because you know exactly what needs replaced, when it needs replaced, and where it needs replaced. So it may not strictly replace all 12 people, but it may cut those jobs from 3 to 6 to however many people it now takes to effectively do this. Because I guarantee you, they wouldn't do this if they had to keep on the same number of people to still do the same task just as efficiently. So, at any rate, saying that whether or not the robots will see a wider use will, unsurprisingly, hinge on the success of this wider trial, and that early results are positive. And given that Walmart has already made a point of using technology to automate the process like grocery pickups, yep, definitely a thing. Saying that it's hard to imagine the company turning robots down. and that the main question is whether or not robots will remain complementary. Obviously, the article is questioning, how long are they going to only complement human workers instead of overall replace them? And saying that Walmart is fond of cutting costs whenever and wherever possible and doesn't exactly put its staff on pedestals. So, while jobs are safe from automation for the foreseeable future, they said that it's easy to imagine robots eventually taking over the positions that don't require human-to-human interaction. Even that, we have self-checkout lines. That is, one of the main forms of human interaction for people. And Walmart's even doing this with their return line, where essentially you return an item with your phone and you drop it off at a counter, and it takes all of 10 seconds. Obviously, they're Walmart is working on cutting its workforce through technology. It's coming, and the author doesn't seem to think it's going to come fast. I think it's going to come very, very fast. So, all right, let's see. We have time for just one more story at all. And how about, I think we did all of the all the higher tier ones. Why don't we go ahead and do this one? So for those of you who do not know, no. All right. Instead, why don't we go ahead and do this one? So Microsoft has had a rocky road with hardware. They're not exactly the best. They're not the leader in really almost any market. And, their profits, they come from other sectors other than the hardware. I mean, recently, I think they sold off most of their patents to, from Nokia to another company that's essentially taking over the idea of the Windows Phone. And even they are taking all of them and putting it towards an Android phone. Windows Phone is essentially dead. So, they're saying that with the success of its Surface lineup, it was only a matter of time until Microsoft revisited its Courier Digital Journal concept. So, the company is reportedly working on another foldable tablet. And for anyone out there who wants to see what it looks like, there's no real way to put this. It's just a foldable tablet. Think of a tablet with two sides, and obviously the one, this mock-up here from way back in 2010 looks like just essentially two tablets kind of glued together in the middle or in kind of the same case. Obviously something nowadays would be much, much more, sleeker designed. But they said that it will make its way to consumers as early as next year. And given that Microsoft has practically given up on the smartphone market, Andromeda sounds like it's trying to forge a new type of mobile device. And that could take advantage of the company's progress with Windows Ink to create what is essentially a digital Moleskine notebook. Now, details about the prototype device are scarce. We don't know if it's using two separate screens with a hinge or a foldable screen. I can't imagine. Samsung has been working on the foldable device, a foldable screen. I think they've shown products that they can actually do it. And I would be very excited if Windows was able to actually come out with a foldable screen that had no middle. Essentially just taking an iPad and folding it in half like a clamshell. That would be something I think would get people really excited. But hey, in the meantime, we'll definitely have to wait and see. I want to thank our guests. I apologize to everyone that we could not get them on sooner, but Tophatter, thank you for coming on the program. And folks, if you want to find out more, check out computeramerica.com, where we have the complete show, audio, video, archive, as well as the podcast version of the show, which can be found on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the Google Play Store, along with places such as SoundCloud. And everyone listening to us on IRN, thank you so much. And now, be sure to tune in tomorrow as we have on with us Pop Czar, Nathan Evans, always incendiary, but always a heck of a lot of fun to talk to. Tune in tomorrow as we discuss topics, pop culture, and more with Nathan Evans. So until next time, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.